Something really fundamental shifted in the world of robotics in 2025. What used to be these, lab experiments and carefully staged tech demos, they suddenly broke out into the real world. At scale. A new industrial age for embodied AI has officially begun. And there's one company right at the heart of it all. Let's dig into how they did it.
Okay, so this is the number that really changes everything. Over 5,500. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's not a small prototype run or some pilot program. That's mass production. In just 1 year, Unitree shipped more humanoid robots than pretty much the rest of the industry combined over the last decade. This signals a huge move from just a possibility to a full-blown industrial reality.
And look, this quote from HDIN Research, it perfectly captures the moment. By early 2026, Unitree's own AI models were actually being put to work in their own factories, assembling the motors for the next generation of their robots. Think about that. The loop is closed. The age of the robotic workforce is here.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth did they do it? How did Unitree not only jump ahead of the competition, but basically create a whole new level of scale? Well, the answer really lies in this deep strategic commitment to what we call the full stack advantage. Let's break down what makes their tech so hard to compete with.
Probably the best way to wrap your head around Unitree's approach is with this analogy. You've got the body, the cerebellum, and the brain. It's this deeply integrated setup where they control every single critical layer, from the physical parts all the way up to the AI that tells it what to do. So this isn't just about building a robot, it's about creating a complete, functioning organism.
So this is the body. And by developing all these core components in-house, we're talking everything from the motors to the sensors, Unitree pulled off something huge. They didn't just bring their costs down, they took complete control of their destiny. They designed out all those potential supply chain problems and built a foundation they could innovate on at an absolutely incredible speed.
And then we have the brain. UnifoLM, which is their own proprietary world model, is what takes all that impressive hardware and, makes it smart. It's the cognitive engine that lets the robot see its environment, understand a command like, hey, assemble this motor, and then figure out the exact physical steps to get it done. This right here is the magic that connects our language to physical action.
And this timeline, wow, it just brilliantly illustrates what that full stack control gets you. 4 totally different humanoid models launched in just over 2 years. They went from a full-size prototype to a mass-market model, then a developer platform, and then an even more advanced successor. This isn't just product development. This is an innovation flywheel, and it's spinning at a pace the competition just can't keep up with.
Okay, so that tech advantage, it translates directly into a killer business model. Let's switch gears a bit, put on our analyst hats, and really dig into the numbers, because this is where the story gets incredibly compelling.
Just look at this chart. Back in 2023, humanoids were, less than 2% of their revenue, a rounding error. Fast forward to the third quarter of 2025, and they're over half of their business. This shows an incredibly fast and successful strategic pivot. They didn't just tiptoe into a new market, they completely remade their company around it in just over a year.
And get this, they did it while being insanely profitable. A gross margin of almost 60%? That's almost unheard of in the hardware business, and it just demolishes the industry average. This is the direct payoff from that full-stack, do-it-yourself strategy we were just talking about. When you control the costs, you control the profit.
So you're probably thinking, if their margins are so good, how are they shipping so many? Well, this is how. They strategically torpedoed the average selling price. Now, this wasn't some kind of fire sale. It was a calculated attack. They used their cost advantage to deliberately crush the barrier to entry and just gobble up the entire emerging market before anyone else could even get their footing.
And this is the number that blew the whole market wide open. Just under $12,000 for the base model G1. This is the price where a humanoid robot stops being a $1 million research project and starts being a piece of equipment that universities, small businesses, and eventually maybe everyone can actually afford. This is how you literally create a market out of thin air.
All right, so we've seen the tech and we've seen the business model. Now let's look at what that all adds up to. Pure, undeniable market domination.
Look at this. Unitree isn't just in the lead. They're playing a completely different game. While these really well-funded competitors like Figure and Agility are still figuring things out in the pilot phase, maybe shipping a couple hundred units, Unitree is in full-blown mass production, shipping thousands. That's not a lead. That's a chasm.
And the way they built this lead is pretty classic, actually. They have a rock-solid, dominant 60% share in their domestic market. That gives them the stable, high-volume base they need to then fuel a really aggressive global expansion, which, you can see, is already almost 40% of their sales. It's a textbook growth strategy, and it's working perfectly.
So the picture we're getting is pretty clear, right? Unitree has built this massive first-mover advantage with superior tech, aggressive pricing, and just masterful execution. But, of course, as any savvy investor will tell you, what happened yesterday is no guarantee of what's going to happen tomorrow.
Which brings us to the really critical question. Is this lead they've built truly unbeatable? So if we take a step back and look at this with a clear head, you start to see some challenges. First, the competition isn't just sitting around. The market itself is still just figuring out what it really needs from a robotic workforce. And look, going from 5,000 units to 50,000, that brings a whole new world of execution risk. And critically, analysts are watching very closely for any sign of channel stuffing, pushing inventory out to distributors just to make the sales numbers look good, which is always a potential risk for a company on a fast track to an IPO.
So here's the bottom line. Unitree has, without a doubt, won the first leg of this race for embodied AI. They use their vertical integration to build a cost-performance engine that has just left everyone else in the dust. The big question now is whether that engine has built a truly unbreachable economic and technological moat, or if it has simply given them a really, really powerful, but maybe temporary head start in a marathon that's truly just getting started.